Hey friends, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome and to your Magnetic Minute of Hope, your little 5 to 6 or so minute episode to give you some wisdom, some insight for the week, something to contemplate and bring into your inner practice. And I want to start today's episode with some questions for you because I want you to see yourself in this before we dive into the work. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt the energy, right? Heavy, anxious, or activated, even though you were fine just moments before? Do you find yourself playing emotional detective, if you will, after a conversation? Like you're overanalyzing, you're replaying everything in your head, the tone, the facial expressions, someone's silence, like it's your responsibility to fix it. Do you know that you're a sensitive soul? But then sometimes you wonder if you're too sensitive because you feel everything, you can't always turn it off. Or maybe you've started to notice that certain moods or emotions or fears just hit you out of nowhere. But you realize, like, this isn't even mine. So if any of this hits for you, if any of this resonates, even just a little bit, this episode is for you, because I want you to know first and foremost that feeling deeply is not a bad thing, but becoming entangled in it and becoming entangled in what isn't yours, this is where we lose ourselves. And so today I want to share what it's like, what it's been like, what it's looked like for me to really unravel from this emotional chaos that was never mine to begin with. I have an undefined emotional solar plexus in my human design, meaning that I feel all the things. So if you have ever defined yourself as an empath, someone who feels other people's stuff deeply, that's what I'm talking about here. And I want you to know how you can begin to come home to your own emotional frequency, letting go of everyone else's. So what it means to have an undefined, and I will say this first and foremost, even if you don't have an undefined emotional solar plexus, this can still relate to you because we all can pick up on other people's emotions and carry other people's emotional baggage. So if you have an undefined emotional solar plexus, this means that you amplify other people's emotions. Sometimes it feels like you feel, quote, too much. You want to fix or calm others to find relief because it's too much because you're having to hold on to other people's emotions. So you just want to fix them so it's over. You can also over-identify with others and what they're feeling, like it's your job to feel it too. And this is especially common in women who were raised to be nice or caring or peacekeepers or, right, people pleasers, that kind of thing. And it can stem from childhood environments where maybe emotions weren't safe or modeled or consistent. And carrying out these familiar behaviors might look like walking on eggshells to manage other people's moods, saying yes out of guilt rather than actual desire. Maybe you feel drained after social interactions, or you over apologize or take responsibility for someone else's discomfort, even though when you know it wasn't your fault. So some sneaky signs that you're absorbing other people's emotions that you might relate to. I mentioned some at the beginning, but maybe you're in a great mood and then you feel anxious after being around a certain person. Like you've heard of that term energy vampire before. You're really sensitive to those kind of people. It doesn't really make logical sense, but all of a sudden you feel different, right? Maybe you take on your partner's stress as if it's yours to fix. This is a big one for me. This is where I really have to catch myself and set boundaries. Because it's hard. You love that person and you want to fix it, but it's not always yours to fix, right? Maybe you overanalyze someone's tone or text or email, and then you spiral about what you could have or might have done wrong. Maybe you replay conversations and wonder if you upset someone constantly. You always feel like maybe, someone's mad at you. Maybe you just feel off after someone vents or criticizes or emotionally dumps on you. This is how it can show up. So I want to talk about detachment and what it's looked like for me and bring in a couple pieces from my human design. So first, a little practice for you. And part of this is something that I learned from a mentor of mine. She's a human design and mindfulness mentor. And her motto is always return to sender, right? And so I want to teach you this little return to sender practice for you to do. So first, when you're feeling it, right, I want you to name it. this might not be mine. The feeling that you're feeling and recognizing this might not be mine. And then ground into the body, physically root into your body and feel into your body, feel into your solar plexus. Your solar plexus is where this is happening. So feel into your solar plexus, which is that space below your sternum, below your chest. And then maybe you visualize a boundary from there. Whatever feels real, maybe it's light or it's color or it's sound or it's breath, but creating this boundary. And then return to sender with compassion, without blame, without judgment. I send back what isn't mine with love. And that's the part my mentor really hones in on, is to return to sender piece, is I can do this without blame, without judgment, and with compassion. I send back what isn't mine with love. And then ask yourself, is this mine to carry? If you're still feeling it, is this mine to carry? Is this even true for me? And then create a space where you can really tune into this. Maybe it's a journaling, maybe it's a voice memo to yourself, but just to break this reactive loop. And I want to talk about two pieces for me that I bring into this practice. So for me, this process of really uncovering emotional sovereignty isn't just about boundaries or discernment, but it's about liberation, because that is, for me, Gene Key 55. This is my conscious sun. It's the radiance. That's the light I'm here to live out. And so it's the Gene Key 55 is moving from victimhood to freedom. So it's all about emotional freedom, emotional liberation. That word liberation comes up for me a lot. And so it speaks to the victimhood, which often looks like taking on everyone else's energy and calling it compassion. We do that to ourselves, especially as women. No, I'm just super compassionate, but really you're just taking on everybody else's energy, and it's just heavy on your body. And it's actually self-abandonment in disguise, because we're losing ourselves in the process. So Gene Key 55 reminds us that true freedom begins when we stop identifying with emotions as if they are us, identifying with them like they are us, right? You are not the sadness in the room. You are not the anxiety in your partner. You are not responsible for fixing the discomfort of everyone that you love. That's not your responsibility. Because you know what? Sometimes when a family member or a friend is in the thick of the crap, right, of those crap emotions, there is a lesson for them to learn. And by you taking that on yourself, you're taking away that lesson from them, the learning opportunity for them. Does that make sense? So this gene key reminds us that reminds me that my role isn't to absorb emotion, but it's to transmute it by staying sovereign, staying powerful in my own frequency. That is freedom. I can still recognize, I can still be empathetic without carrying those, putting those on myself, abandoning myself and taking those on as my own. That's the liberation. That's the freedom. The other gene key I want to call out here is Gene Key 22, which is my conscious Mercury, which is the message I'm here to bring to the world. And it's moving from emotional alchemy through grace. And so when we operate in the shadow of this, it's us trying to manipulate or please or bend ourselves to avoid other people's discomfort, just to maintain peace. And this gene key teaches that emotional grace doesn't mean walking on eggshells or holding your tongue or having to hold back. It means honoring your own emotional space while letting other people have theirs too. So grace is, I see your emotion, but I don't need to absorb it. I love you, but I will not contort myself and abandon myself to fix you. This is one of the most radical acts of healing. And this is what we all get to step into by holding on to our own emotional sovereignty, not abandoning ourselves in the process and taking on other people's crap. We can see it. We can feel for them. We can feel with them, but we don't have to feel it on us, right? So maybe your emotional entanglement doesn't look like mine, but maybe it shows up like hypervigilance or guilt when you see somebody struggling, especially somebody you love, right? Or as always having to be the strong one who never asks for help. But whatever it looks like for you, I want you to ask yourself this question: where are you abandoning yourself emotionally in the name of harmony? You're not here to carry everyone else's feelings. You're here to feel deeply, but without drowning in it. This is the power of emotional sovereignty. This is what embodiment looks like. You can feel everything and still choose yourself. So I want to leave you with that today and asking yourself some questions to think about. What emotions am I carrying that aren't mine? What happens when I let them go? And reminding yourself that your sensitivity is a gift, but it's not meant to be a cage. It's a gift where we can still maintain our emotional sovereignty and offer. Maybe we are able to offer our wisdom in the moment for other people without carrying their stuff. I hope this gives you some things to think about this weekend, my friend, and I'll see you next time.